What's going on? It's JMSEY, and I'm hanging out with Rob from Front Row Live.
When I first got the email about your new single, your name sounded really familiar and I couldn't pinpoint why. And then I realized that I've heard your song See You Again before, which you got to feature Hobo on there. And so before we jump in and dive on about your new single, let's talk about this single, See You Again. And like, how were you able to, what was that relationship between you and Hobo at the time? This was a 2019 track. So how did this collaboration kind of happen?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how that worked out. So Frank had basically, I believe, more or less just moved down to Sacramento, which is where I lived for a while. And at the time, I was hosting this open mic, and in comes this kid, and he's got his keyboard, and he like gets on stage. And to be honest with you, I didn't know if I liked it or not. But I did know that I was intrigued. I was like, this is interesting, you know what I mean? And I think, most people these days listen to so much music. When you hear something that's like, what? That's almost like as intriguing as like hearing someone who's amazing, right? So it was interesting because at that time, I think he just quit his job and he was slinging like CDs. He was singing CDs and was like, I need to make this much money a day to survive. So I was like, so I bought one of his CDs, and I basically invited him over for dinner the next day. I was like, yeah, I don't know what you're doing. I'm intrigued. I would like to learn more about you and what you're trying to do. So he comes over the next day, and I made him dinner. And then just for the hell of it, I was like, I have this song that I've been working on, and I don't know if it's like something that you'd be down with. And I just kind of played him the song, and then he like wrote a verse like right then and there. And it was my first experience of recording with Frank, obviously. And so it was interesting seeing how meticulous he is about how he is with his takes. And so that was very fascinating because he was just like, yeah, we got to do that again. And he's clearly hearing things that I don't hear. I'm like, oh, that sounds fine to me, But, it's the mark of someone who knows what they want, right? So it's really crazy. So that was like, it was probably like 2 years before actually. So I didn't even touch it again until way later in the game. So basically, fast forward. And so at that point, all we had was the hook and his verse. And then fast forward, literally the week that he put out his Tiny Desk audition, and it blew up, right, in like a week. We had already planned later that week that he was going to come over and help me shoot my Tiny Desk audition, which was going to be See You Again. So it's crazy. So he came over to do that. And then the day before he came over, one of my closest mentors passed away. And so it was insane. So that night, I was just up all night, ended up finishing writing the song lyrically, my parts. So when Frank came over the next day, at that point, I was like, dude, this is like, there's no point in me submitting, for this shit at this point. But moreover, the song had become so much more personal at this point. So he just shot like a live video for it just for the heck of it because he was there. And then we put that version out, and then I ended up retracking it again for my EP. And we tracked it during the same time he was tracking The Fall, I believe. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but there's just so many levels to it. You know what I mean? It's crazy. But that's how it happened. So basically, Frank and I were just friends. During that time between the open mic night and then when everything happened, we just cultivated this relationship where, when he needed help or if he wanted advice on anything, I would give him advice because I was like the older cat in the scene and he was the young buck. And Apologies. And so yeah, we kind of had that kind of relationship, and it was cool. And eventually, he invited me out to do content. Actually, the first tour that they went out on was super exciting. And at that point in time in my life, I was kind of overplaying music because it just wasn't fun. So they invited me out to do like video and stuff. And I was like, cool, yeah, I'm down to travel and do that. So I went out there and did that. And at the end of the tour, they asked me to join the band. And I was like, this is cool. Like, if I'm going to play music again, this feels nice. I just show up, play my parts, then go and do my own thing, And then, so yeah, that's kind of like that story. And through that journey, it kind of reignited my personal excitement in doing music for myself. Which, being around Frank, being fortunate to have like the best seat in the house, basically, I get to be right behind him watching him. And it's amazing to watch people resonate with like his songs, and to have that perspective was truly inspiring, and really just kind of unlocked something in me that I realized. And it's not anything that's like unknown, but genuinely, I feel like you create music from a very honest, sincere place. I think people really recognize that these days, because we're bombarded with so much music. When something or someone comes along and you're like, wow, that was like really honest, you're almost kind of like, wow. And it, and people gravitate towards that, in my opinion. So I think it's a very cool byproduct of what's happening in society right now, because we're just blasted with so much information and so much music, so much good music, so much bad music, and like so much information in general. I think that the stuff that really cuts through it is the very honest stuff. It's not always the prettiest stuff. It's not always the prettiest stuff, and like, I love Frank to death, but like, he's not technically, right, the best musician. Like, he's not fucking Stevie Wonder or anything like that, but he's managed to find a way to truly deliver his honest perspective on things in a way that really cuts people, which is the beauty of art, in my opinion.
As far as the honesty goes, like as we dive into your new single Style, you give us a different perspective on the way that you see a person, or the way that you feel about a person, or the reasons why you feel a certain way about a person. I feel like in today's society, we're so involved on what can they do for me? Like, what do they look like? What are they wearing? But with this song, I feel like it's like like an honest approach of like the real identity of this person, like why you fell in love with this person. Like, talk to me a little bit about the creative process of Style, and kind of being able to write an honesty that is pretty much overlooked today.
Yeah, man, that's actually means a lot that you got that from it, because yeah, truly, that's you hit every point that I was trying to convey with that song. Yeah, 100% agree with you. We live in a day and age now where, I mean, shit, take social media out of the equation, and as humans, we naturally compare ourselves to everything that we see. So bring in social media, and I can imagine, because I'm one of them, but you can only imagine like generationally younger and younger, what it must be like to grow up in a world where you're constantly comparing yourself and kind of having your worth be a number, or like how many followers you have, how many likes you're getting. Like, I can only imagine what it's like in high school now, right? Or whatever. But back to your point, the process of the song actually came very naturally, because I'm literally narrating a moment that actually happened in my life last year during. So I'm based out of LA. I live in LA. I'm originally from Sacramento, but because of my involvement with the band, every month I go back to kind of work with the band and, do what I need to do. And so this one time I came back, I was sitting outside on this coffee shop on the deck, and this girl comes out of the coffee shop, and she's got this like long jacket on. I hadn't seen a jacket like that since I was in London or like New York, like on the subway, you know, when people are in the winter, they got those nice, cool, like long. And so it just struck me, you know, and I was just like, in a fit of almost starvation of human connection because of last year, I said hello. And I normally don't do that. I normally am not one to like see a pretty girl and be like, hey, what's up? You know, but I was compelled. And I just commented her jacket, and she sat down. We had a lovely like 2-hour conversation. We ended up getting dinner that night. And so it's just turned into this whole long thing. And so it was cool. Like the song starts off with me. Well, basically that's how the song came about, is she inspired this kind of realization to me, like, wow, like, yes, on the surface area, style, when people hear the word style, they think fashion and clothing and stuff like that. But then, you know, as I got to know, it became so much more deeper than that. And it was all about the goofy moments that her and I shared. And the weird honesty, like a lot of people always ask me about the ice cream line, like the dairy, and it's like, that's just like me. Like I have like psoriasis, which is like an inflammation skin thing. And so I've been, for the last few years now, not eating dairy, you know, or trying to cut it out as much as I can. And so just little things like that is so funny how, to me, it's like a very personal thing to be like, no, I don't give you the dairy, but like, I want it, you know. But it can be related to so many people. But for me, yeah, the process was really trying to cut past the surface area that most people see, which is the visual, and cut into the area of like the quippiness, the personality, the cleverness of things, you know. And even in the video itself, I tried, when I brought the team together, the video team, I really made sure they knew. I'm like, I want this to be just clever. I want the word style to literally be every part of the visual. I want the shots to be stylish. I want the way the camera moves. I want my movement, everything. And I just think it's a really important message right now because, like we were saying, like with the way social media is, I think people have a very strange perception. I won't say strange, it's understandable, right? Because this is all you see. But people have a perception of what style and beauty is. And so I was really trying to find a way to kind of talk about it from an angle that isn't so aesthetically based and facade based.
As far as like that production process goes, you know, what was that effort like between you and Caleb? And you've worked with Caleb also on Sunny Days. So, yeah, you know, how different was that dynamic now that you guys are more comfortable, since there's previous material that you guys have collaborated on?
It's so fun. I can't even express how like fun it is recording with Caleb, because he comes from a world where he spends 80% of his day tuning vocals on really big projects. He'll get projects in from like really big pop stars, and his job is to go through the song and tune the vocals. That's all he does. And so it's funny because when I come into a session with him, I'm like, here's the song already pretty much. I have it written, here are the lyrics, here's the arrangement. And Caleb comes in and kind of just he puts it all together in a professional way, a more professional way than I could, but he still keeps the grittiness that I want. And for him, it's a nice break from this perfect world that he's literally like working on, trying to make everything sound perfect. And for me, coming from the background that I come from, especially being like from what I was saying earlier, being in Frank's band, there's an honesty in the imperfections that make things brilliant, in my opinion. And so our process is so fun because we literally do long takes. We barely do punch-ins. So those vocal takes that you hear are usually the first take of 3 full performances of the song. So that's why like the songs come off so performative, because I'm performing the whole song, start to finish. Like the energy that you feel is a natural buildup of energy because I'm literally stomping around I'm not in a booth. I'm just in like the sound area. I'm just stomping around, singing these takes. And then of course, if there's like a section of this one take that we like better, we bring it up and we make it part of the final one. But Sunny Days, for example, that was a scratch vocal, first take, whole thing. That's it. And even Caleb was like, I think this is it, and he barely had to do anything to it, which again for him was like so strange from the world he comes from. So the process has been really great for both of us because I feel like I'm giving him this moment in the day to kind of be chill and like create this art from a place of just raw performance. And then for me, it's nice because I get to work with someone who's able to do the final 10% of a song, which honestly is oftentimes the most important part, the final like finishing part of the song is like, so many people can write great songs and they'll get it to here, but then they don't have the ability to like bring it to the finishing line. And that's what Caleb is for me. He takes it to the finishing line for me and I just kind of give him all the pieces. And so it's cool. And it's like, again, he's so busy that our workflow really lends to his schedule because I come in, for one, I don't like studio sessions. And for myself, I love going to studio sessions for other people and writing for other people. But when it comes to me, because I come from like an R&B background, I just have like, it just sucks being in a very isolated booth, hearing every part of your voice and like realizing that you sound like shit, And so I'm constantly just like, it turns into just this self-deprecating session. But with these songs, it's way different, I'm not in a booth. I'm like full bore performing these songs, in the studio. So it's way more fun for me because that's what I enjoy is the performance side of it. And yeah, for him, it lends to a schedule because we're done in like 2 hours, 3 hours. I would say Sunny Days was tracked in, we probably put a total of 6 hours, 8 hours into that song. I met up with him 3 times. It was like 3 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, done. Send it out. Yeah, like send it out. I'm fortunate with Caleb. He's great at mixing, and he has my sound down now, like the vocal chain and all that shit. So it's style was even easier. Style probably took us like 6 hours, maybe even less. And yeah, so like I will say though, like it does lend to the fact that the songs are already written and stuff like that. It is something that I did differently this time than other times I'd gone into the studios. I'd come in with complete songs. I know what I'm singing. I know what the lyrics are. I'm doing a little bit of spot writing, in the moment, but it's more or less done, and I'm able to deliver the performance with conviction. So that makes the process quick too, which is nice. But yeah, our workflow right now really lends well to our lifestyles and just where we're at with music and recording in general.
The fact that you do record this in a live kind of vibe, live kind of session, we haven't had live shows for a year and a half already. So what kind of impact did that have on you recording music? And then also, how did these summer shows that you just did with Hobo that you opened up for, how did they impact the new material now?
Man, you're a great interviewer, man. That's so strange. Yeah, because man, I swear it's very uncanny. Either that or you've been talking to someone who knows me very closely. But dude, all the music I've been putting out, or I am putting out, is a complete reflection of last year, in the sense of there was definitely a moment there where a lot of us, I think, were unsure of when live music was coming back. And so for me, it changed up my musical style and just what I wanted to do so drastically. I just wanted to yell. I just wanted to play easy, simple songs. I wanted to just like run around and be mad. And I had a moment to myself where I was like, man, if you get to do this again, have fun, you know. And I think when you pursue music for a while, it doesn't get fun because it starts to get a lot of pressure. You start putting a lot of pressure on yourself to have to like meet or exceed certain expectations because it's supposed to, because you're supposed to, because you've been doing it and blah blah blah. So coming out last year, that definitely affected the way I wanted to record these songs. I wanted these songs to sound like, of course, studio, but I wanted it to have this live, raw feel as well to give people that feeling of like what it's like to be back at a live show again, and that rawness that comes with like when someone is delivering an actual performance and they're not just in a studio punching in and hitting words like word by word. I wanted it to be fluid and come off that way. So that's a big reason why we recorded that way. And we've been getting into the habit of recording, multi-track recording our live shows as a band. And so we played 3 now as a band. And our last show in LA was at a spot called Little Joy. And we recorded it and I got the tracks back and they sound great. And so now what I'm thinking my workflow is going to be like, is I'm going to try and put out 3 to 4 singles at a time every other month. And then after that, I'm going to put out a live EP of like one of the takes that we perform, because I'm sure I'm going to be playing shows on the way. But I think personally, that's such a cool way to kind of offer both. Here are like the recorded studio versions, and then here's the live version in one lump thing. And keep it kind of seamless in that way. And so I'm really excited to put out this live EP at the end of the year. I have like one more single to put out. And then once that's out in October, I'll probably try and put that live EP out like kind of in November, but then it will have all the songs that are already out. So I think they just kind of feed into each other, and the live EP will have its own life of its own. I feel like, you know, because some people like recorded shit, some people like live stuff. But yeah, that's kind of like the trajectory that we have in terms of not just live, how we're putting out music, but just kind of the relationship that I want to have with live music vibe in studio and in actual live recordings.
Now, to close us off, going back to style, what would you say like was the biggest challenge in creating this song? Like, were there specific lyrics that you were kind of that kind of stomped you to kind of finalize, or was it during the recording process? But it seems like the recording process was a breeze. So,
dude, honestly, the whole thing was a breeze, and I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that because I think I'm the shit or like I'm like amazing. I just think it was just one of those sweet. Do you play sports? Do you play any sports?
I used to, yeah, I used to play hockey.
Okay, so I used to play soccer, football. Mm-hmm. So I imagine it's very similar with hockey. But you know when you hit that perfect shot and you just, there's power, there's pace, you barely feel it on the stick probably. I'm just I'm imagining it's the same.
I mean, you're nailing it.
Yeah, that's how it is with soccer. Like when you hit that sweet spot, sweet part of the ball, you barely feel it come off your foot, but it's just zipping through the air. That was how style was for me. It was just like one of those like fortunate, everything just aligned. The lyrics came to me super quick. The melodies came to me super quick. The cadences, I've been really trying to work on. And it's funny because, you know, style to me really is the foundation of what I want to build my personal genre and music and everything off of. I think style is like, Sunny Days, of course, is very goofy and fun, and I love that too. Style to me, though, really has a quality of, you know, rock and punk and like some rap cadence, you know, and really a lot of that is just a lot of the shit that I love listening to, all like melded into one, you know, and so the process to me was very smooth. All of that came to me very easily, and you know, I was inspired by love, so that's, I mean, when you're like, that's the easy thing to be, you know, I literally was just writing things that I was thinking in my head, you know, and trying to piece them together in a somewhat clever way. But I think what I've been trying to do differently with the newer songs. And again, it's because of like my lack of live experience last year and performing. I really tried to write these songs with the intention of like, how is this going to feel to perform? What line, is going to make me crack a smirk or a smile on stage because I'm having fun, And Style to me is like one of the most fun songs to perform for me because I think the lines flow very well and they're slick. And when I'm on stage, I feel like Conor McGregor in his prime. I just want to really strut all over the stage and just say shit. Do you know what I mean? And I just got a grill, for crying out loud. I recently just got a grill. I got a grill for that shoot specifically because for two reasons. For one, my mum always complains that I don't smile enough in like pictures and shit. And that's because I'm just like self-conscious about my teeth. I don't know. I've always been self-conscious about my teeth. Fun fact, like I used to have a fat gap like in my two top teeth. And then I broke this tooth playing rugby. And then when I moved to America, they were like, man, we could fix all of that by just getting you a veneer and just making that one tooth straight. And I was like, so I don't need braces? And he was like, no. And I was like, sick. So they did it. So now my teeth look like this, which is fine. But I think I still have the gap tooth mentality where I'm still like, you know what I'm saying? So it's funny, but the grill thing for me, yeah, it was in part because my mum always says I don't smile. And secondly, I've always wanted a grill. I don't really with jewelry. And so the grill seemed like something really fun to me. And so, yeah, honestly, like it's, I mean, it just lends well to the song and what it's all about.